Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope this finds you all well, and I hope you are all ready to begin with our month of Gemini. So I told you these last days that we begin our month of Gemini with Mercury retrograde, which is like very contradictory because Gemini is related to the communication, and Mercury retrograde is basically the opposite of it, is not communication at all. So before we start, let's try to remember some of the things that I usually try to remind you when we begin a month. So first of all, let's remember this, that we are not following any astrological calendar. We are not following the calendar of the Gregorian calendar. We are not following the astrological calendar, either the tropical, neither the sidereal. We are following the calendar of the Atlanteans, and the calendar of the Atlanteans is divided in 12 months. Each month has 30 days divided in 3 weeks of 10 days each, and the year begins in the moment when the star of Sirius appears in the horizon again in the northern latitude 33. Yeah, so that would be the last days of July or the first days of August. So that's the beginning of the year. So the last days of the year and the first days of the year are 5, and these 5 days are out of time, related to the celebration for the beginning of the new year. So this is why we are beginning today with Gemini, if in the strategy point of view, it has already begun a few days ago. So today we begin with our month of Gemini, which we have only 2 months ahead to end this path. So we have Gemini and only 1 month more to finish. Remember that Gemini is the physical aspect of the trinity of air. The trinity of air is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So Aquarius is related to the spirit of the trinity. Libra is related to the soul of the spirit of the trinity, and Gemini is related to the physical of the trinity. So remember that Gemini has its name because of two stars that are called Castor and Pollux. We have spoken this in another moment, Castor and Pollux. And the names of those stars are related to the story that the Greek people used to tell about these 2 twin brothers, that one was told, the other one was immortal, and they loved one another so much that they were all the time together, constantly. These twins were fighting together, were doing many things together, and in one of the wars, the mortal one was killed. So the immortal one was so sad that he started to ask to the gods to kill him too, because he couldn't live knowing that he wouldn't be able to live with his brother. So that's why the gods decided to make both of them immortal in the sky as 2 stars. So that's why we have these 2 stars with those names, with the twin names that give the name to the constellation. We have to pay attention to this when we speak about Gemini. Gemini is 2 brothers that are very opposite to one another. They're opposite, but it doesn't mean that they are against each other. They are not against each other. They love it to each other. Their natures are very different. Their natures are different because one was mortal, the other one was immortal. So they are very, very different by essence. But because of their differences, they love so much one another that they want to be all the time together. So this is something important to get from this topic from Gemini, because along this month, we will go into topics that we divided as opposite to one another. This is why we think that these two brothers are opposite, but actually all the concepts that we will speak about, they are complementary to one another. They are not in a fight. So as you see, these two brothers are sharing life together. They are complementary. So the key for Gemini is communication. They need to communicate to one another. They are in constant communication because they love one another. So they want to learn from the other, to understand the different perspectives from the other. So that's why Gemini is like this world of sharing information, of willing to learn, to communicate with the others, to recognize the other. Okay, and because of this communication, this constant communication, the regent of Gemini is Mercury. Remember that we spoke when we spoke about Gemini. About Mercury, we spoke that it was the god of the merchant people. The merchant, the people that used to sell from one village to another, from one town to another, along countries. So that's why the main merchant became Mercury. Okay, and came from there. And this is why in between brothers and sisters there was this communication. So that's why Mercury was the regent that represented Gemini, the communication between brothers and sisters. So what happened with Gemini here? Gemini is the key of communication between different cities and countries and population. So Gemini is air, is the one that flies from one point to another, that goes from one city to another, and it doesn't get attached to any of those places. It just go away. So Gemini, when the Gemini goes to one city, if in that city they used to sing, Gemini will sing with those people. But then it won't keep there singing. It will leave that town and go to the next town. And if in that town they love to make clay figures, Gemini will do clay figures. And keep moving, keep going. Learning, sharing, and doing whatever they do in each one of the places. So Gemini going through all these places around also have this thing that it can change a lot. Gemini is very adaptable to the places, but they can change their point of view of those places very fast. So it has so many point of views that even their own point of views are contradictory to itself. So they can change their point of view or their idea in the same sentence. Maybe they end up that they had another clue, another data information that is opposite to what the person is saying, to what itself is saying, and it changed immediately and suddenly confuses everyone. So another thing that Gemini has is that it is so open to receive so many data, to try to understand if everything that we are talking is real. That Gemini people will be those that are trying to question everything till the last moment, to the very bottom of the things. So Gemini will be the energy that whenever someone is talking about something and it's not really clear what we are saying, Gemini will be the one going to Google to just look for it, trying to see if it was real or not what they were talking about. This also makes Gemini a little bit of a gossip person that tries to know everything from everyone. Gemini will be this energy that they will say, if you have a group of people around and everyone is looking for, they're talking to one another, the energy of Gemini will try to be in the conversation of everyone, of all of them. Like, Gemini cannot be the one not knowing what everyone is talking about. Gemini wants to be in everything. But this thing that some of us maybe can see as something negative of Gemini actually is the attribute of Gemini, which is to know a little bit about everything, trying to see everything, to know a little bit of everything, what is happening. Gemini here, the energy of Gemini will be to understand that its attribute would be to open yourself to learn a bit from everything, to receive the world as if it is all about data that I have to assimilate, to receive. And besides that, to understand that it's about communication, it's about to talk to one another, it's about to expand the communication to something we call friends, to be with friends, to talk with everyone. So be to recognize that not only you speak with your family or partners, it's just open to talk with everyone, to open the world of your friends. So we have seen in the month of Libra that all this polarity was about beauty, for the harmony. We were looking for harmony, so it was all about soul finding the beauty. Then the spirit of the air, Aquarius, would take us to expand and transform, to set ourselves free by transformation. But then, in Gemini, it won't be information from up there, from the cosmos or the beauty of the soul. In Gemini will be about friends, about here, the communication with others in our surroundings. So this is how, from point of view, is how we're gonna see all our path of Gemini in this month. And during all this month, we will have the regent, the planet of Gemini, which is Mercury, retrograding during the whole month. So what will this retrogradation take us? In a very Gemini way of saying this, we will see it from a negative point of view and a positive point of view. So from the negative point of view, we will see that we will have problems in our communication. We will have lack of communication. So we will have to be patient, because many things can happen that can interfere our daily communication. And just by beginning by the structure of my next week, in 3 days, I will start to travel with people going to the south. And we will start to do the alignments in different timelines. I told you already in the I posted it in all my social media, the new times for this next week. So we will have different moments of communication. We will have maybe a bad signal. So sometimes maybe we are not going to be able to connect, or you are not going to see me properly or listen to me properly. So in the next week and a half, we will have kind of problems and conflicts by a structural point of view in this path. So also in a bad way can happen that be very difficult to understand me, because I am not speaking properly, because I am maybe these days I'm very tired, of course, today, but maybe I won't be in the best mood of communication these days, so maybe you won't get what I say. It's much more easier to get offended. In the good point of view of this retrogradation of Mercury, it brings us something really, really amazing, which is that when we speak about Gemini, usually we talk about communication, to go outside, to speak with the others, to go out of ourselves. But when Mercury is retrograding, it also brings us to inside. It takes the opposite path, going to speak with yourself within. For sure, you have heard these things that some people say that you are crazy if you talk to yourself. So you seem crazy if you're speaking loud with yourself. And culturally, this is like weird. But this month is about that. Is to start to talk with yourself loud. So it's a good month. It's perfect this month to talk with your higher self, with yourself. So during this whole month, the task that I will propose to all of you is that from every topic we speak, you take the little time that when you are alone, try to just talk with yourself about that, like saying, what do you think about this, Matias? Well, I think that blah blah. So not speaking with other people, but speaking with yourself. And of course, the first topic that we will speak about with ourselves is the biggest dichotomy of human cultures, which is to think and to feel. For sure, you have heard in the spiritual path that we are this dichotomy, this duality between thinking and feeling. Like we attach the concept of thinking to the brain, and we attach the concept of feeling to the heart. So it's very interesting when we talk about thinking and feeling that we start to relate. We separate these two concepts. We divide them because we are, as humans, we are used to divide all the things like this. This is blame on someone. This guilt of something. It's like we are all dividing things, separating concepts. But in all this path that we have taken till now, we have seen how everything is connected, how everything is one, interacting to one another. So we cannot separate things really, in reality. These two concepts, to think and to feel, have been fighting one another through history, because some people that were following their hearts, their faith in something through history, they started to blame the reason, they started to blame thinking people on going against what they felt, the divinity they were feeling. So they started to forbid to think freely. You were supposed only to feel. And eventually, someday, the thinking, the reason started to take power again over the heart, over the feeling. Because the reason used to say that the feelings were taking us to conflicts, to wars, to misunderstandings, and it was a terrible part of history. So the reason was against the heart. This is going once and again through history in many times. The feelings going against the reason, and the reason going against the feelings. But there was one time in history that both together were one. The unity of these two concepts is called philosophy. Philosophy comes from philo, phile, that means love, is the feeling. Feeling, philo. And Sophia, that means to know, knowledge, reason, to think. So philosophy is the balance in both of them. Philosophy would be like the balance, the harmony between thinking and feeling, in which the feeling, the sensation that I have becomes the seed for the doubts that makes me think about it. So throughout all history, we have been living in this duality in which it seems that we have to decide where we decide or choose the path of knowledge, reason, and thinking, or we choose the path of love, of feeling. And because of this consequence that we have been living, of this fight of these two things, even today we have this idea of a division between the heart and the brain, in which we have come from a last period of our history of science and technology, which is all about reason, about thinking. And suddenly, all these spiritual people, we are waking up and start to feel the cosmos, the unity. So we start to say, like, I can feel the truth, I can feel the universe. So we start to say we have to go beyond that. The heart must succeed upon the brain, upon the mind. The heart is important. It has meaning. And it's not like that. There is the moment in which we are repeating exactly the same. Once and again. That's a mistake. So the people that lives only through the reason, they are usually the people that needs to see in order to believe. The people that only live through reason are the ones that are not wondering, that are not questioning the things, that they just stay with one statement, and the rest they just say, it's not truth. What you're saying is crazy. They don't wonder. For sure, you know many people like this that live through the reason. The people that live through the reason is not people that has wisdom. It's not people that has even knowledge. It's just people that have a package of data, of information, and they just get stuck with that and are not open to transform that data, to question all the things. And on the other hand, we have the other kind of people, the ones that just live through the heart, through feeling, and are the people that used to say, you don't have to think much, you just have to feel it. If you feel it inside, that's it. That's the most important thing, and you just have to feel. Don't think about the things. Don't waste your time thinking. It's just perceive it. And we are all love, and everything is about love and through the heart, and that's it. So what is the problem here? Is that when you just live through the heart, people lives in a dream, because it's about feelings, and the feelings are created by the brain, by the hormones. So you just feel is what your body is processing. So it's not the truth. You are living just an imaginary idea. That's why this kind of people lives in a magic realm. Illogical. Impossible to manifest anything because they are living in a dream. And they believe in anything and whatever. Because they feel it, they just believe whatever. So think about now all the problems that are brought to our lives by just living from one or the other side. Remember this. It's not about being one or the other. These two are called Castor and Pollux. Castor and Pollux are brothers that love each other. They love so much that they want to be together as one. And this unity is what we call philosophy. This is philosophy. Philosophy is the love for knowing, is knowing through love. So we usually make a mistake, a great mistake. When we say philosophy, we used to make the mistake believing that we are talking about currents of philosophy, different branches of philosophy, or the philosophy of life. And philosophy is neither one or the other. We will take away the philosophies, the branches of philosophy, the currents, and also the life philosophy away, and we will have philosophy. What is philosophy? Is love for wisdom. How does wisdom define itself through love? By questioning itself constantly. When we say philosophy of life, we are never referring to philosophy. We are referring to something that we like and we feel attached to as a pattern of life. The philosophy of life is I like this pattern and I attach to this pattern because I like it a lot and I don't want to change it. I loved it. So that's not philosophy. We call it like that because it's something that we like, but it's not philosophy. That's a pattern that we love. That's it. It's not the philosophy of life. There is no philosophy of life. Philosophy is about questioning constantly your life. Also, when we say about currents of philosophy, that would mean ways of seeing life. Like, for example, you have the sophist, Platonic point of view, Nietzsche, Descartes, I don't know, many different philosophies of life. But to know that philosophy, to know the path of philosophies, doesn't make you a philosopher. And to follow one of those currents of philosophy neither make you a philosopher. Because the main essence of philosophy is not to have an idea, is not to follow any stream, any current. Philosophy is about questioning ways of life. It's about questioning, not to be part of something. When you become a part of something, you stop being philosopher. So if you teach philosophy, you're not a philosopher. If you follow one of the currents of philosophy, you're not a philosopher. Philosophy is basically the connection between the heart and the mind. Is the love for wisdom. And in the middle, we find the questions, the communication, is the constant communication between the two parts to share, to exchange views, to grow from that. So remember that in order to open yourself to this energy of Gemini, we have to feel like philosophers, allowing us to feel our ideas, to wonder of them, to love, to question our mind. That's evolution. The things that we consider a certainty is just another pattern of belief. Is the mind the reason, the one that is looking for certainties? Nothing and never anything in our history of humanity has developed and evolved through the path of certainty. It was always evolved by questioning, by wondering. And yesterday I told you that I would say and translate what Ta had said yesterday whenever I understand what he said. So this is why I'm not going to say anything. Today we changed the vibration, which is X. So the vibration for today is Xa. The statement for today is I am a spiral of divinity.